Kathleen Kennedy is someone that will go down in history as the defining person that ruined Star Wars. And there's no way around that. Mm-mm. Not at all. I remember when they were coming out with, what was it, Force Awakens or whatever that first one of the new trilogy came out, the hype, how exciting everyone's like, yes, more Star Wars. It's about time we're going to get more Star Wars. And then it was literally just nothing but the Rey show. See, my biggest beef with the whole thing is that they took whatever Luke Skywalker's whole plot and whole life was going to be, because that was all in Legends, because she didn't like that shit, so she made it all Legends. All this great history, lore, things that have been talked about. Yeah, no, get rid of that shit. It sucks anyway, because you know why? It's the Force isn't female enough. Now I understand that what in her head she was trying to do. She was trying to cater to a new audience. She wanted and her new audience was trying to get more girls, more women into the Star Wars universe. But in my opinion, there was already plenty of chicks in the Star Wars universe who were interested in that shit. They liked it. So you weren't gaining a new audience. What you did was you just alienated the rest of your audience, because everyone already loved Leia. So it's not like the Star Wars audience was like couldn't handle that shit. We all liked Ahsoka, or at least the newer generations all appreciated Ahsoka. So it's not like that shit doesn't work. It's how you write the character, and that's what they ultimately failed with Rey on. They just took all of Luke's stories, threw it in a blender, threw up some woke shit in the blender, blended it all up, and then made the movies. And then they didn't have no planned out thought. The whole shit just didn't work. Like, if I can sit here in the basement, can see this clear as day how there was no organization, how the fuck did these people at this level see it? Right? Total dysfunction from Lucasfilm, and to be honest with you, I don't even think the replacement, and I believe is it Dave Filoni? I think it's Dave Filoni. Let me double check that. Yeah, it was Dave Filoni. I spelled his name wrong, but yeah. This guy's, for anybody who knows, this is the guy that did Clone Wars, and then I believe he did Mandalorian season. See, because I know it was Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. They were together for, I believe, the first two seasons, or maybe Favreau took the back step in the second season of Mando. But I know he had full control of that third season, and it was such a bad show now. Like, I loved Mandalorian. Like, that first season was great. Second season, it was good, but like I overall, like, there were some things I didn't like, but overall I enjoyed it. And then it just became like, Boba Fett came out after that, and it was literally just Mando 3.2. So it wasn't really like his later stuff. And then he greenlit Acolyte, which was an entire fucking joke of a show. And then, what is it? Did they have Dark Plagueis or whatever the big guy? I think it's Dark Plagueis. I'm not too sure. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to recall everything right now. But I think Acolyte, they included, let's see, Dark Plagueis. Probably going to spell that wrong. Because is that Palpatine? No. Dark played his official Sith Lord of Star Wars franchise created by George Lucas. He was the master of Palpatine. Okay, so I think in that, I'm not too sure on the timeline, because like I said, I couldn't take the time to watch all the shows, because like I watched a little bit of it, tuned off, I didn't really care. But I know at the end of the season they were bringing in some huge character, and I believed it was Dark Plagueis. I could be wrong though. Please, if you guys do know what it is, please correct it in the comment section below so people can see it. Because I said I'm not too sure, because this is what I'm really focusing on is this video. So by the Critical Drinker, he's going to talk about the Kathleen Kennedy story on all the success and greatness that
Kennedy.
Has to go with that.
If ever there was a name synonymous with the destruction of pop culture franchises,
So,
the humiliation
let's
of
see,
beloved
let's watch.
legacy characters, creative mismanagement, missed opportunities, and the unwelcome injection
Lucas got the
of
bank,
the
by the way.
message into
George Lucas got the bank, by the way. Like, dude, he has all the Disney stock options and stuff like that. He's doing good.
modern entertainment. It's this one woman. Yeah, other people have arguably committed worse crimes against cinema, but Kennedy did it first and did it biggest. And now that she's finally, officially, definitively stepped down as president of Lucasfilm, to the relief of literally dozens of Star Wars fans that are still invested,
it's
and beginning her
unbelievable.
extended walk into the wilderness of retirement, it seems like the right time to make what I hope will be my last ever
J.J.
video on
Abrams.
this subject. subject. Because if anyone deserves a crash and burn, it's her. Not so much because she nuked her own career and torched her own legacy. We'll get to that in due course, though.
Yes, yes.
But because
That's Acolyte, I
she
think.
managed to burn down literally everything around her, leaving a trail of devastated IPs in her wake. Well,
Okay, Kylo Ren could have been such a great character. I mean, yeah, dude, like, so if I had to like wrap my head around the new trilogy, like, yeah, there was parts of Rey I just got to the point where I was like, okay, like it wasn't going anywhere. They weren't pushing anything new, right? But like with Kylo Ren, I get it. He was kind of like a new version, right? Ben Solo. Um, I just thought the way his character could have been, like, in my opinion, I would have loved to see him switch from the dark side to the good side at the end of the movie. I didn't want him to die. Like, if they would have kept him alive, I would have been like, word. Because then we could maybe see him and Rey do something together, and then we can have all of that, right? And they can maybe rebuild the Jedi Order together. But no, they couldn't do that. Whether it's because Disney hates men or whatever reason you want to come up with, I don't know. I remember when the movie came out, they had like recorded multiple different shots from what I've heard, and there was there was different endings. So he could have, like, in one of the endings, I believe he did survive, but they just didn't run with that one. I just thought the whole like them like, breaking the barrier with all the new Force stuff they're adding, it just got too much. But I was like, I can at least wrap my head around Ben Solo or Kylo Ren in this case. I can like go, you know what? I want to see more of him. I want to see what they do, and then they kill him off. So it's just like never ending, just like they kill off all the main characters. They disrespected Luke in so many ways. Like, I would rather them just straight recasted Luke than do what they did. He went from being the hero, the uniter of the Jedi. He rebuilt everything, the whole Jedi Order. He pretty much was the main reason why the Jedi were saved, right? He was the guy. Anakin was the chosen one, right? But we know at the end of the day, Luke was the main guy. Everyone loves Luke Skywalker. Every generation loves Luke Skywalker. We all want to see more Luke Skywalker. But the problem is, they don't want to give that to us because they would rather done their own stupid plot, make their own fucking 3 movies, waste billions of dollars on that. It didn't do well. No one's even, like, the merch isn't even doing that great. Like, no, people are so done with Star Wars. He did everything and anything to kill the brand. And it's like the more poetic thing, in my opinion, out of the whole thing, and it's like not a good thing either. It's they kill off, Han Solo, because obviously we know Harrison Ford was probably like, I only want to do one of those. If I'm going to come back to the character, I only want to do one, so kill me off. Fine. You kill off Han Solo, which sucks, but you got the crowd reaction out of it. And then you kill off Luke Skywalker. Because you were thinking you were doing some insane, powerful scene with him, because he went hiding on a rock for the rest of his life, drinking whatever weird milk that he was drinking. And then he just goes out there, does the Force thing, and they're like, shoot him, and you do this whole stupid plot. So you kill off Luke Skywalker. And then you keep Leia alive. Which is like, yeah, in the original timeline, Leia does become this, like, insane Supreme Chancellor, right? At the end of the day, Star Wars is kind of geared towards her. Like, yeah, Luke and Anakin and all of them got their own stories in this whole whole thing, but Leia ends up becoming the one main Supreme Chancellor. So I get they were kind of trying to do that plot too, but then she actually dies in real life. It's like, man, so it's like, we lost Carrie Fisher in real life, but then you kept her character alive. You won't recast her, and that's the issue. Like, in my opinion, they should have just recasted Leia. I know that like for some people is this big controversial thing, but in reality, it's not. Like, I would want to see like more stuff of Luke Skywalker. I want them to decanonize all this crap. They really should. Like, but the problem is, we know Dave Filoni, he won't do that.
While somehow holding on to power as head of one of the biggest studios in the business. Perhaps the greatest example of failing upwards that Hollywood's ever seen. And believe me, it's seen a lot. So grab your bargain bin Rey Skywalker action figure and let's embark on Crash and Burn, the Kathleen Kennedy story. Kennedy was born in 1953 in Berkeley, California, one of 3 daughters of Donald Kennedy, a judge, and Dionne Marie, a part-time theater actress. After majoring in telecommunications and film studies at university, she soon found work at a local TV station in San Diego as a camera operator, floor manager, and eventually a production coordinator. It was clear, though, that if she wanted to progress progress in the business, she'd have to move to LA, which she did in 1978, and soon landed her first job as a production assistant to John Milius, who at the time was overseeing Steven Spielberg's troubled comedy movie 1941. Basically, her job was to take notes, run errands, and make coffee.
She was
Three
the
things
coffee
that she was
coffee person,
spectacularly
yeah.
bad at.
I remember Kathy came into the room with her steno pad and her pencil, and she was horrible at taking notes, and she was terrible at, she didn't really know how to do it very well. But what she did know how to do was interrupt somebody in mid-sentence. We'd be pitching ideas back and forth, and Kathy, who's supposed to be writing these ideas down, suddenly put her pencil down and would say something like, and what if he didn't get the girl, but instead he got the dog?
Right.
Spielberg, though, for whatever reason, took a liking to her and hired her as his personal assistant for Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, she might have been shit at taking notes, but to her credit, she was organised, diligent and efficient, able to solve problems and mediate disagreements. She soon rose through the ranks to become
I'm
an
sure she
associate
was.
producer.
I mean, before she took over Star Wars, like she had a pretty high claim. Like she did stay with Spielberg. Like, you know, you're just tagging along with his career, all the movie success he has. Of course, you're gonna get like good recognition in the industry, right? Like he was like the top dog at the time. I mean, still is in a lot of ways. Like if he came out and made a movie, people would go watch it anyway just because of the name Steven Spielberg. Like that's how good that's how well known he is. But yeah, no crap that if she tagged along with him, moved up her career. Like she wasn't hated. It's the fact that you can tell even like right then, like, oh, like why doesn't like, well, what if he doesn't get the girl and he just gets the dog, right? Like from her comment, it's like, well, do you see like how like you can already tell that's where she was like in her head. She had her agenda and what she wanted to do, but she wasn't in the position to do anything, right? So she had to just kind of play the game. She played the game long enough and eventually got Star Wars.
Poltergeist, and finally a full-on producer for E.T. in 1982. Not bad for a
Yeah,
29-year-old.
she got good
The pattern for her
acclimates.
career was now set, and she would act as producer for nearly all of Spielberg's movies for the next 30 years. She wasn't what you would call a creative person because she didn't really need to be. Her job was to facilitate other people's creative visions, organize logistics, overcome all the problems and hurdles that cropped up along
She was
the
more
way.
business
It
oriented.
might not have been sexy or exciting work. It wasn't the sort of thing the general public ever got to see, but it was important and it won her a lot of respect in the industry. She was a project manager basically, and to be fair, she was good at it. Her work on the Indiana Jones movies also brought her into the orbit of two other men who would turn out to be cornerstones of her career, George Lucas and Frank Marshall. In the case of the first man, they became close colleagues and friends and stayed that way for decades. Maybe not so much today though. And in the case of the latter, they were married by 1987. As you can probably imagine, having close personal relationships with three of the most powerful and respected men in the business did wonders.
Why did I not know that? All right then. So we know. Okay. So you know she locked up
For her
all right.
career, and by
Kept
the
the crew
mid-90s,
together.
she was regarded as one of the most influential producers in the industry. She even co-founded Amblin Entertainment with Spielberg and the Kennedy Marshall production company with her husbands. All good stuff, and if she continued on this course of producing and overseeing individual movies, she probably would have had a stellar career and retired as the single most successful female producer ever.
Yeah, honestly.
As it turned out though, fate had other plans
Honestly,
for
she
Kathleen
stopped
Kennedy.
before then.
Remember George Lucas that she'd befriended back in the 1980s? Well, by 2012 he was getting old and burned out after making the Star Wars prequels and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Well, so when he came out with those Star Wars prequels, like from my kid perspective, like I enjoyed them for the most part. But I know a lot of the older audience hated it, despised it. Anakin was horrible. Padme sucked. I think everyone liked Obi-Wan because you know how do you not like he did a good. Ewan McGregor nailed it, but they hated Jar Jar, especially hated Jar Jar. They hated some of the CGI work they did. It just was a whole. It just from the get-go, it just got it was like good originally, right? Because they had Liam Neeson, they had a young Obi-Wan Kenobi with Ewan McGregor, they had the kid, which some of the people bitched about Anakin, but still, again, like everyone's gonna find a complaint with some part of the movie, but overall, people are like, yeah, it was good. Darth Maul did his little thing, killed Qui-Gon Jinn if I'm spoiling that for anybody, so sorry, but you kind of got like. The reaction, everyone loved it, and then it just kept going on, and then obviously, there's like the dual fates. There were some great fights in episode 3. I'd say people probably really enjoyed episode 3. I think everyone hated, what is it, Attack of the Clones? That's episode 2. Because I think mainly the CGI worked. Like, I remember the main complaint was how it overall looked. Like, people just were like, they had Star Wars had a look, mind you, that was also just film sets at the time changing everything. They went from actually being like real sets somewhat to this total CGI mess. So I think that's what. And then, oh yeah, then Crystal Skull was just, it wasn't. No. It was fine, especially when you compare Crystal Skull to this new one that came out. Yeah, Crystal Skull is unbelievable, but yeah, the Indiana Jones ones, he kind of ran his tail there. So he kind of just people just got angry. I don't think the prequels were as bad, and obviously now when people reflect on the prequels, they're not as bad. Like, people do respect them now, especially because of the last what
Disney
she's
were
done
offering
with
to
those
buy
new
up
movies.
Lucasfilm from him, and he was very much tempted by the offer, but what he really needed was a safe pair of hands to leave the company in. And from his point of view, Kennedy seemed like the perfect choice. He knew her personally, he trusted her, and when it came to experience, there was nobody who could rival her. So in late 2012, the deal was done. Disney bought over Lucasfilm, and Kathleen Kennedy was installed as president of the company.
Sad day.
A move that few people took issue with at the time.
Yeah, no one really
however,
cared.
would soon change.
Like, we all thought it
Things
was gonna be
started
good.
out well, at least. J.J. Abrams, arguably the safest pair of hands in the business at the time, delivered a massive box office hit with The Force Awakens, the first movie in a new Star Wars trilogy. Yeah, it was just a glorified nostalgia trip and a thinly disguised rehash of A New Hope, but who cares? Star Wars was back, baby, and it was bigger than ever.
They didn't do enough. The potential with Finn was there. All they had to do was just give him, like, he showed Force sense. Like, I thought before Rey, like, we knew anything. I remember when I was watching the movie and we saw that Finn was getting a little Force sensitive, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, we're gonna see a former clone trooper go from, the dark side, right? He's a clone, then he gets some abilities, and he becomes a Jedi, and then I think that's a great story. They did nothing with Finn. Like, the actor did a great job doing what he had to do with the stuff they gave him. His potential as the character was so there that they were just like, yeah, we're just gonna make him yell, Rey, 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 every part of the movie. That's all he did. And it's like, dude, like, after you're watching The Force Awakens, you're like, dude, this guy's got some, like, all right. Like, I thought Finn was a really good character. To be honest, there was a lot of potential there that they just ruined.
The following year,
I feel bad for the
Rogue
actor
One
because he
proved
did a
that
good
Star Wars
job.
could release spin-offs and prequels to the main story that were still financially viable, allowing them to potentially kickstart an entire cinematic universe just like the MCU. Unfortunately, the good times weren't to last.
Yep.
See, going from producer on specific film projects where you have very clearly defined tasks, objectives, and responsibilities to head of an entire studio that was centered around one man's creative vision is a pretty big leap that demands a whole new set of skills. Skills that Kathleen Kennedy absolutely didn't have. What she needed was a strong creative vision for where she wanted to take the franchise and how she was going to get it there. She needed to plan and map out release schedules for multiple films with directors and writers that were actually suited to the projects in hand. She needed to keep people on track.
You needed to get the games going. Like, you just needed to get the whole universe planned out. Like, she needed to go day one, like, all right, let's get the storyboard planned out for how we want to do the movies and this 10-year plan, right? So they had all the shit planned out and how everything connects, and then they have people go back and check the continuity, make sure all of it works, all of it makes sense, make sure they're not contradicting or being hypocritical anywhere. And then you want to see, okay, what can we do with the games? How do we get people kind of like, okay, so there's no movie, we should come out with a game in this timeline so people can still be like, you want to have an idea that there's something Star Wars happening almost at any moment, right? Like, yeah, you can have a few dead periods where things aren't really happening, but you want to have a movie, then you want to have a game for the added hype from the movie. Like, they should have done all that. They didn't. Yeah, some of the games were successful, but some of the games were also trash. Like, they didn't do anything good. And then, like, EA, and then there hasn't been a new Battlefront game in a while. Like, for me, and then we did get the new Battlefront game from Aspire, and then that was a total joke. And the sad part is that game seems all but dead, and I was so looking forward just to having, like, a casual, just play some old school Battlefront 2 for a few hours and then get off. I would have been playing that game for years. I'd probably be making videos on that. Sad part is they just messed that up so bad.
To progress and juggle multiple projects at the same time, she needed to be a leader now, not a facilitator. And this is where it all started to go wrong. Kennedy had hired up-and-coming director Rian Johnson to write and direct The Last Jedi, the second movie in the sequel trilogy. Unlike JJ though, who was all about nostalgia and fan service, Rian was determined to shake things up and subvert fan expectations, not live up to them.
Of course.
And boy did he ever. Throwing out JJ's
There's the milk
proposed
scene we were
ideas for the
talking about.
sequel, killing off most of his plot threads, and completely going into business for himself. Now, George Lucas probably would have stepped in at this point and told him he was being a fucking idiot, but the lack of a strong overarching plan for the sequels, combined with Kennedy's attitude of, just let them get on with it, ultimately doomed the movie. TLJ turned out to be the most divisive Star Wars film of all time, completely splitting the fan base into warring factions, and bringing in barely half of what Force Awakens had made. Worse, it introduced identity and gender politics into Star Wars in a way that had never existed before. And believe me, this was intentional. One of Kennedy's goals with Star Wars was to increase female representation.
They don't get it. These high execs, it's like when I watch these people do what they do, I just get taken aback, and I'm like, man, these people get paid like literally millions to constantly just make bad decisions. It's like Star Wars already had established good female characters. You didn't need to overdo it. You didn't need to forget the plot, because you got to know who's your audience. They did the same shit with Marvel, and look how bad it did. So it's like Disney, because we know the problem is the people at Disney at the top, they're all clowns and they don't know what they're doing. So you can't expect Disney to reel them in and go, guys, like, we bought 2 boy brands, because people forget Disney at the time, before it bought Marvel, before it bought Star Wars, when you looked at the portfolio, they didn't have like anything from ages, like, for guys that were like ages like probably 10 and up. Like 10 to 30, 40. Like, they didn't have anything that drew people in. So what did they do? They were like, okay, we have a few options. We can go buy brands. We can make our own boy-specific brands, or they can do whatever they want to do. So they obviously elected to do buying the brands. So they bought Star Wars, they bought Marvel. I think they bought Marvel first, then Star Wars. And they bought Marvel, 2008, 2009. And they bought Star Wars, obviously, in 2012. So it's like, when they got those brands, that was supposed to be the driver for, okay, now we got the male audience now. Now we got, for that generation of men, now they have someone to go to. You don't take those brands and then go, okay, let's make it the Marvel She-Universe. You don't make it Star Wars the She-Universe. You don't just turn it all these male brands into these random chick brands, because mind you, you didn't get any new chicks watching it, and any of the chicks that were watching it said, oh, I'm done with this shit. I know plenty of girls that read comics, and they've always been in the comics because they just like the stories, they like it what it was, and now they hate all the fucking branding and shit they try to do now with the characters. They've ruined Captain Marvel. I mean, you can't even, there's a reason why you can't get her on a main title. Like, no one, it just doesn't sell. People don't buy it. You ruined it. Like, your DC kind of was doing it a little bit with Wonder Woman, but Wonder Woman's a great character. It's probably the only character that is a strong female character just because of the history. So it's like, even if you don't like the main line, you can go jump back to anything soon, earlier. But Wonder Woman's been hit or miss on the lines. So it hasn't really been great. But Absolute Wonder Woman is probably the best Wonder Woman book we've gotten. But now I'm talking about DC, right? So Marvel has become so bad to the point where I don't even, like, I have a few Marvel things and books I read, but it's just not worth it. Like, I get to it, like, I read Spider-Man, I try to read a few characters that I just simply like Captain America, but it's just not the same. They've done Star Wars, I picked up the books, other than the current one is Legacy of Vader, and it's like a Kylo Ren book, which honestly, I'm enjoying I think it's by Charlie Soules. That one's really good. I mean, I think that's probably the best story. The current one that's going on with Luke right now, where like the OG one, it's like okay, didn't really do anything. And then they kind of did like a prequels version with Qui-Gon Jinn and stuff, and it's fine. I'm not really like, I like the character Qui-Gon, but I don't know, it could be better. I just think the direction with Star Wars and where it's at with the comics and and all the continuity. It's just a joke. It's lost, and Disney's
On
mainly
screen, in
responsible
the
for
belief
it.
that not only would the franchise retain the inbuilt male audience, they'd also attract
They
a brand
ruined
new
it.
female audience that had been put off until now. A modern audience, you might say. The devil, though, is in the detail,
That's such
and
a
no idea
legendary
can
photo.
survive bad execution. Suddenly, people were hyper-aware of overpowered, overbearing girl boss characters like Rey,
Yep.
Holdo, and Rose Tico, and they didn't like them. Kennedy's decision to take part in the Force's female campaign for Nike in 2017, combined
what
with
are
her
we
obvious
doing?
feminist sensibilities, instantly put her in the firing line. For most detractors of the sequel trilogy, she became the big bad of Star Wars, an unqualified diversity hire promoted to a job she didn't earn, presiding over a franchise she didn't build, and killing everyone's fun by populating it with annoying, unlikable self-insert power fantasies.
100% did. I mean, like, she did. Because like, it got to the point where I'm like, all right, like, because you guys remember watching Star Wars for how it was, right? It was just normal. There was guy characters, there was a good amount of female characters, there was a good, like, I would say it was just normal. Like, would there be more guys probably in some military positions and high positions on command? Yeah, like, sure, that's just kind of how some of that works. But there was also plenty of female characters that were good. Like, it wasn't, it was just normal, right? Like, all this felt like kind of just how it was. It was just normal. And it's like, then I'm watching all the, new Star Wars movie. It's like every single like main commander that's in charge of the fleet, like that general was a chick. Like every person that's like a captain was a chick. And I'm like, okay, so like we're just getting to a point now where it's like now I'm seeing too much of one side, and I'm like, look, no, I'm a guy. Like I'm not saying I hate. I mean, if they're hot, like great, right? Like I don't care. But like you gotta give me a blend. Like, come on, make it normal now. Like you're gonna tell me there's no guys in any position. Every guy that is just a dumb, stupid talking point, or you just use him for a gag. Like Rose was. They never should have given Rose like the character, not the actress. The character Rose never should have been on screen. It was horrible. That was such a DEI plant. That was just like we didn't need it in the story, and it's part of the reason why Luke died. Because like if she would have sacrificed, if she would have allowed Finn to sacrifice himself, then Luke lives. But no, she had to save him because of this random love story that they had incorporated. It's like so dumb.
Solo, the next spin-off movie in the
Solo,
Star Wars
I didn't even
cinematic
I honestly
universe.
didn't even hate Solo, even though I think Emilia Clarke was like one of the girl bosses in it. Like I don't even hate her. Like she's actually a really good actress. She killed it as Daenerys. They did not respect Daenerys at all in that season 8. But I actually didn't even hate Solo.
Bombed in spectacular fashion,
I
partly
know it
driven by the
bombed.
ongoing backlash against TLJ. There would be no more spin-off movies after that. The great Ryan
Which
Johnson
sucks,
experiment had
because now
failed. The
it
Star
just
Wars
sucks.
cinematic universe was stalled, and now they needed to get back to safer territory for the final movie. J.J. Abrams was coaxed back to tell a story he didn't really want to tell, desperately trying to undo the damage done by TLJ, only to produce an absolute Frankenstein's monster of a film in Rise of Skywalker. Reviews were terrible, the fans were disgusted, and the film barely cleared $1 billion at the global box
That
office.
whole
A
Imperial,
far cry from the success
that
of
whole
The Force
Imperial
Awakens.
scene shot was so dumb, dude. Like, they waste all this time building an army, military, and then it goes down just like, it's so dumb.
With the movie business in tatters, Kennedy and Lucasfilm retreated to TV, where they scored a surprise hit with The Mandalorian, mostly
And then
because it
ruined
had
it.
Jon Favreau at the helm. The success wasn't to last though, and failures like Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi failed to capitalize on its success. Lucasfilm by this point was rapidly descending into chaos. New Star Wars projects were announced to huge fanfare, only to go nowhere and quietly fizzle out without explanation. By now, Kennedy was raiding the cupboards at Lucasfilm in search of anything she could use to prop the company up. Willow, a 1980s fantasy movie, was brought back in a baffling TV show about a pair of lesbians so disastrously awful that Disney ended up scrubbing it from their servers and memory holing it. To this
I didn't even know that came out.
day, there's no legal way to view it online. Indiana Jones was defrosted for one last adventure, mostly in the hopes of replacing him with a younger female alternative.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
It didn't work, and despite massively expensive reshoots to try to fix it, the
Yeah, it literally just felt like Indiana Jones was a side character in his own movie, and it was kind of like the passing of the torch movie to her. So I'm like, look, in my opinion, they should have brought back Shia LaBeouf, and I understand in the Hollywood world he's probably a little bit controversial. But if you're going to be doing a movie like this, like, you didn't have to ruin Indy's life every way. Like, I understand they had to do the, they just didn't want him in the picture probably, but it's like, this should have been like Shia LaBeouf back. The teams together, like, he's father and son combo, and maybe Shia LaBeouf. I'm not saying he becomes the new Indiana Jones. I'm just saying, like, you can see like kind of like a father son thing happen. But no, they couldn't give us that. They had to just incorporate some random chick to be the main lead and do all the good
The
shots and
movie
do
flopped
all
at the
the
box
crazy
office.
things.
The biggest humiliation for
He does
Kennedy
nothing
was
'cause
yet
he's
to
old. He
come,
can't do
though.
much anyway.
The Acolyte, a show that will live in Star Wars infamy as long as
God.
Hollywood exists. A pair of strong, diverse...
Okay, actually, he did a great job as like a Jedi dude. Like, honestly, I wish they took his character and gave it some more respect. Like, I felt bad that he legitimately,
female lead.
I'm forgetting his name, but that Asian guy, he killed it. He was actually, I remember watching that going, he's the best part of the show in my opinion. I thought he did it. For what they gave him, he did a great job. I would love to see him in a different project.
Lesbian space witches, weak men getting humiliated. It was all there, and it was
Yeah.
all terrible. And in a way, it represents the final form of Kennedy's vision for Star Wars, and it was utterly eviscerated by everyone. The backlash was
Yeah, he
so
was on-
bad that even Disney had to step
he's
in and
Netflix,
promise
yep.
not to make any more. Now, if you're spotting a theme here of Kennedy resurrecting old IPs and using them as a launchpad for diverse new girl boss replacements, then believe me, you're not alone.
Put a chick in it.
That's
Make
what I
her
was
gay.
talking about. Like, they were going to incorporate that guy at the end of the movie, and they're like, we can't ruin him. Please don't touch that canon.
She'd gambled some of the biggest. Then believe me, you're not alone.
Put a chick in it. Make her gay.
She'd gambled some of the biggest franchises in Hollywood history on the modern audience, and wow, did she lose big. To paraphrase Chris Gore,
Oh, the whole
she took boy
Palpatine.
brands that everyone could enjoy and turned them into girl brands that nobody enjoyed. Men
There it
felt
is.
excluded and disrespected, and women felt patronized and pandered to. The modern audience had failed to show up, and the existing audience was abandoning ship. Kennedy's greatest gamble had failed, and inevitably it all finally caught up with her. For years there had been rumours of her retirement, false starts and conspiracy theories, but one thing was obvious: Kennedy wasn't going anywhere until she was damn well good and ready. And on January 15th, the day finally came. Kathleen Kennedy was stepping down as president of Lucasfilm. You might have expected joyous celebrations at news like this, but the reaction was more like an exhausted acknowledgement from the fans. After all, what was really left to celebrate at
Horses,
this
like, what are you
point? She was
doing?
gone, sure, but she left behind her a studio in absolute shambles, all of its IPs drained of their goodwill and cultural reputation. There was nothing left to save from her because she'd nuked all of it. And now that the dust is settled and all is said and done, how will posterity judge Kathleen Kennedy? Will she be remembered as one of the greatest producers in Hollywood history?
No.
Or the woman who oversaw the biggest act of brand destruction the industry's ever seen? She'll
Probably
certainly
the
do her
second
best to
option.
rewrite the narrative in her favour, that's for sure, like the lengthy interview with Deadline where she focused entirely on her successes and dismissed her failures and mistakes as someone else's fault. Mostly the small but vocal minority of toxic Star Wars fans who just couldn't see her brilliance.
Really?
Yeah, sure, whatever helps you sleep at night, Kathy. You know, for someone who's all about breaking barriers and challenging female stereotypes, she's not exactly dispelling the myth that women are more averse to accountability, self-reflection, and owning their mistakes than Movie Bob is to a treadmill. Times have changed now, and paid shills and industry trades don't write the narrative on Hollywood legacies anymore. The internet does. And unfortunately for Kathleen Kennedy, the internet never forgets. Anyway, that's all I've got for today.
Yeah. Unfortunately, she will, not unfortunately, I guess, it is what it is. She'll get remembered as the individual who ruined all those brands, and I don't think Dave Filoni is going to be the great savior, unfortunately. I guess, look, Trial's still out on that one now that he's the big chief, even though, like, they're, he's splitting the role with someone. Someone's doing the business, he's doing the creative directing. But he's pretty much been doing the creative directing for at least the last 2 years. So we've kind of seen what his visions kind of become on the live action side, and in my opinion, it's nothing to really jump and think like I don't think Star Wars is saved. I obviously think, yeah, it's good that she's gone, but I don't think it's going to be pushed into this direction that we're all going to be like, it's back, like, dude, the characters are back, the stories are great. Like, the thing is, like, for a situation like this, we need to see a total creative team clean house. Like from Disney and down. I'm talking from the top of Disney and down. You got too many of these people thinking ideologically about these brands. They're not actually thinking with respect to the characters, because the people themselves aren't thinking. They don't have the same mindset, right? The way they view these characters, the way they view these stories and timelines, how they view life in general is just different, and it doesn't work. And they don't understand where the big picture is with everyone. Like, we're all like kind of done with this 2015 era shit, and there's a group of Hollywood that's going to continue to try to push that, because this is like the last bit of control they have. And once they lose that, like if they lose Hollywood, then they can't spread their agenda. So we just need to see Hollywood go back to actually making quality movies and not thinking like agenda. And that goes for like conservative side. I don't want to see just a bunch of conservative media content getting shoved everywhere. I want to see just like normal movies that are real, authentic, real to the character, real to the stories, and that's just me saying a Hollywood rant in general. She's just a prime example of what the problem is with Hollywood, and how someone like her was able to do as much loss and damage as she was able to do for that long. In my opinion, goes on the leadership of Disney. How do you guys like allow this? Like, if I was in charge of that company, I would have canned her a long time ago. Not because of anything politically. I just would have said you're not making money. Like, simple as that. I don't give a fuck what you're trying to do with trying to send everything to making the She universe. Cool, if you wanted to do that, if it was making money, then it would have justified. But it wasn't making money. And they saw that for years, and they just were okay with that at Disney. So there definitely needs to be some accountability on Disney's side here. Like, you guys pretty much bought up competition, right? Like, we could have hypothetically have had a world where Lucasfilm was doing its own thing, pumping out Indiana Jones, pumping out, more Star Wars and all their, maybe they create a few more IPs. Like, we could have been in that timeline, but no, we're in the timeline where Disney bought up everything they could. Now Marvel, like, it would have been cool maybe to see like Lucasfilm team up with Marvel, right? You take just the Star Wars, like the Lucasfilm with the Marvel brand, throw it off into a separate branch. I think that would have been cool, would have been nice. But now we have to deal with just corporate suits getting involved with all this. And like, look, guys, I'm wearing my Disney shirt now, right? And I do love Disney. I love their products. I mean, I grew up watching. They have tons of classics, so it's like the history's there. They just have lost the plot so much. And yeah, the fact that they didn't find a way to get her out of the fucking door sooner to save your brand, just for save your brands. Because now they have to literally nail it with these next movies. Like, my opinion, the one movie I'm looking for, I mean, I know they're coming out with the Mandalorian Grogu movie. Not too hype about that one at all. Just because of what they did in season 3. Because in my opinion, Luke should have been, like, Luke and Grogu should have done their thing. Like, I would want to see more, like, and then we can have a story with Sebastian Stan playing Luke. And then we can have a whole, maybe him and Grogu, and him training Grogu. But no, just because they didn't want to have Grogu not there for screen time, and they were selling so much fucking toys probably of Grogu, that they're like, yeah, no, we have to keep him there. So then they, pretty much made it into, like, instead of, like, all the arc and the thing that was happening in Mandalorian, be like, no, we have to get you to this location, I have to get you to a Jedi, all got thrown away in, like, an episode or two. So it's just like, I'm not really excited for the Mandalorian. I'm gonna probably go watch it, but I'm not jumping for joy here. I'll go see what it is. I'm really excited. The only thing I'm excited for is the Ryan Gosling movie, to be honest with you. And if they had canceled that one, that'd be such a shame. That's the one I'm actually looking for, just because it's Ryan Gosling. I'm like, okay, he's an actor I trust. He's in a bunch of great movies that I like, So I'm like, all right, if they literally just make the plot of Drive, but put it into Star Wars Fly, then great. He needs to say the words, I fly. It's like, what do you do? I fly. It's just like the words, I drive. If that's not in the movie, that, in my opinion, would just be a horrible mistake. Make the man say the words, I fly. That'd be peak in the movie. But that's the only movie I'm really looking forward to. Not Star Wars for me. I've checked out of it in a lot of ways. I'm like trying to keep up with some of it. But they just really haven't been coming out with it. They were supposed to be coming out with the movie like every year. Shows every year. Something every year. Nope. They had to cancel half of them. Her vision totally failed. Is Star Wars saved? I don't know. My quick thought, no. Don't think it is. So I think we're still this is just the current medium. I think we got a long road ahead of us. So when it can be done, we're gonna have Dave Filoni make a few movies, and then we can gauge it better like that. Him being the big boss now, no one over him. We're probably gonna see Ahsoka be main. I wouldn't be surprised if Ahsoka now becomes like just in everything. So, which I don't hate it, but I don't want her to, I don't want them to ruin the character, unfortunately, but they probably will. So, alright guys, if you guys like watching more of these Star Wars rants types of videos, drop a like below. If you guys like what I do, drop a subscribe below. Try to support the channel. I'm just trying to make content for people, have fun, doing what interests me, talk about what I like to talk about. So, yeah, if you guys got any questions, drop them below. Have a good one, be safe, don't do anything stupid. Peace out.